11 signs you're on the path to wealth, but most ignore them. You think wealth is about money? It's not. It's about energy, identity, alignment. And if you're seeing these 11 signs, your entire life is about to shift. Stay with me. This may be the most important video you'll ever watch. Part 1, A Burning Desire, the First Spark of Wealth. There's something that quietly begins to shift in a person before wealth ever arrives in their bank account. It doesn't look like money, it doesn't feel like a paycheck, and it doesn't come with applause. It begins as an inner fire, a restlessness, a hunger that's impossible to ignore. Napoleon Hill called it a burning desire, and he insisted that without this, no one could ever become truly wealthy. If you're starting to feel this fire inside you, this unexplainable push that keeps you awake at night, that drives you to learn, build, and rise, you're already walking the path to wealth. This isn't just ambition, it's something deeper. It's a soul-level urgency, a magnetic pull toward a future that you can't fully see yet, but you know is meant for you. You're not chasing money anymore. You're chasing your calling. Hill emphasized that a burning desire to be and to do is the starting point from which the dreamer must take off. It doesn't matter where you were born, what your current job is, or how much money you have in your pocket today. If you have this burning desire, you already have the seed of greatness. And this desire doesn't let you rest. It pulls you towards something higher, something more meaningful than a paycheck or a promotion. You wake up thinking about it. You go to sleep dreaming about it. You feel the weight of your own untapped potential pressing against your chest. You want something more, not just for yourself, but to prove to the world that you can become who you were meant to be. This is how wealth begins, not with spreadsheets or bank loans, but with emotion, with fire, with obsession. But here's what most people get wrong. They confuse wanting money with having a desire for wealth. Wanting money is shallow, it fades, it's transactional. But a burning desire is transformational. It changes who you are. It consumes you, and in doing so, refines you. You begin to look at your life differently. You start asking deeper questions. What am I doing with my time? Why am I wasting hours scrolling or procrastinating? You feel sick of mediocrity. You're allergic to excuses. You want your time to mean something. You want your actions to create results. And that craving it grows louder every single day. Hill didn't romanticize the path to riches. He didn't say it was easy, but he was clear that every single self-made millionaire began with desire, not connections, not luck, not even education, just desire so fierce and focused that nothing could shake it. It's the moment when you stop blaming the economy, your parents, your past, or your circumstances, and you realize it's on you. No one is coming to save you. No miracle is going to drop into your lap. And somehow that truth doesn't discourage you, it electrifies you. Because if it's on you, then you're the one who gets to change it. People around you might not understand it. They might even mock it. Why are you always working? Why are you dreaming so big? But you can't help it. There's something inside you now that refuses to settle. You've tasted the idea of freedom, and once you do, there's no going back. You start cutting distractions, not because you're told to, but because you want to. You no longer crave mindless entertainment. You crave results. You crave movement. Every small win feels like fuel. Every step forward builds momentum. And even failure, it doesn't break you like it used to. Because you know you're no longer stuck. You're building. You're growing. This desire, this fire, it keeps you focused when others quit. It makes you resourceful when resources are low. It pushes you to learn skills you never thought you'd need. It forces you to face your fears. Public speaking, rejection, doubt, and walk through them anyway. Because the pain of staying the same has finally become greater than the fear of trying something new. And here's the hidden truth: the universe responds to intensity. It responds to commitment. It doesn't give wealth to the one who kind of wants it. It gives it to the one who is relentless, to the one who decides, not just once, but every single day. This is who I am. This is what I will create, no matter what. You start to move differently. You listen differently. You read between the lines. You begin to see opportunity where others see obstacles. And not because the world changed, but because you did. The lens through which you see everything has been refined by your desire. You stop waiting for permission. You stop asking if you're good enough. You stop playing small, and you start owning your space. You walk into rooms with purpose. You speak with clarity. You act like someone who knows where they're going because you do. That's what makes this sign, the burning desire, so powerful. It's the internal signal that everything is about to shift. It's the soul's announcement that you're no longer tolerating the life you've been handed. You're here to create the one you were born for. And once you feel it, truly feel it, you'll never go back. Part 2. Clarity of purpose. You know what you want. Once that burning desire takes root, something remarkable begins to happen. It demands direction. Desire alone is powerful, but without a clear destination, it burns wildly, inconsistently, never producing true results. Napoleon Hill knew this. He warned that vague hopes produce vague results. But when your desire crystallizes into a clear, definite purpose, it becomes unstoppable. Clarity isn't just a nice to have, it's essential. It's the signal to your subconscious mind that you're ready to take control of your life. It's the shift from daydreaming to deciding, from drifting to designing. Most people never decide what they want. They wish, they dabble, they chase shiny things. They start and stop 100 projects, never committing fully to any of them. They say things like, I just want to be successful, or I want to be rich one day, but they can't tell you how, or why, or what it even looks like. But when you're truly on the path to wealth, something within you sharpens. You stop speaking in vague generalities. You start making declarations. I will build this business. I will reach this income level. I will create this life. And you don't just say it, you define it. You write it down. You visualize it. You measure your progress toward it. It becomes your North Star. Napoleon Hill put it bluntly, there is one quality which one must possess to win, and that is definiteness of purpose, the knowledge of what one wants, and a burning desire to possess it. This is the point where your desire gains discipline, where your dream becomes structured, where your passion meets a plan. You're no longer swayed by trends or peer pressure. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're guided by something deeper, clarity. You know what you want, and that knowing creates focus. It simplifies everything. It helps you say no more often, no to distractions, no to detours, no to draining people and pointless noise. And something even more powerful begins to happen. Your environment starts to reorganize itself around your clarity. People notice your conviction. They feel it in your words, your energy, your work ethic. You begin attracting opportunities, mentors, clients, not because you're lucky, but because clarity magnetizes progress. It makes you easy to help, easy to trust, easy to bet on. This is what separates wishers from winners. Wishers talk in circles, winners speak in direction. When you speak your goals aloud with clarity, it does something to you. It reinforces belief, it triggers action, it removes hesitation, and it demands accountability. You're no longer hiding behind maybes and some days. You've decided, you've committed, and that changes everything. Even your failures start to feel different. When you lack clarity, failure feels like a dead end. But when you know what you want, failure is just a fork in the road, a course correction, not a conclusion. You keep moving forward because your eyes are locked on something specific, something real. You're not looking for an escape. You're building an outcome. Clarity also ignites courage. When you know what you want, you're more willing to face discomfort. You'll sacrifice comfort for progress. You'll show up earlier, stay later, learn faster. You'll confront your fears not because they disappear, but because what you want is finally worth the cost of growth. The pain has purpose now, and that changes your entire relationship with effort. You begin to outgrow the old version of yourself, the one that waited for signs, waited for motivation, waited for permission. Clarity doesn't wait, it acts. It builds momentum. It creates movement even on the days you feel low, even when the results haven't shown up yet. Because when your purpose is clear, faith becomes easier. Not blind faith, but the kind rooted in direction. You're no longer wandering, you're building. You'll notice this sign in the little things first. You start planning your days differently. You prioritize tasks that actually move the needle. You stop spending hours doing what's easy and start doing what's necessary. Your calendar reflects your priorities. Your conversations shift. You're no longer talking about people, you're talking about ideas, strategies, next steps. Clarity rewires your thinking. You begin to see time not as something to pass, but as something to leverage. You realize you don't need to do more, you need to do what matters. You become obsessed with alignment. You stop asking, "Is this hard?" and start asking, "Is this aligned with my purpose?" And here's the deep truth. Clarity of purpose gives meaning to your sacrifices. It helps you endure the lonely nights, the rejections, the doubts, because you're not lost anymore. You know where you're going. And even if no one else believes in your path yet, you do. You believe it so deeply that you don't need applause to keep going. The vision is enough. So if you've reached this point, if your vague desires have begun transforming into clear, defined goals, understand this. You're no longer just hoping, you're building. And every builder knows the blueprint comes before the masterpiece. That blueprint is clarity. And it's the second undeniable sign that you are truly deeply on the path to wealth. Part 3, faith and belief, the wealth mindset is growing. It starts as a whisper, a quiet voice inside you that says, maybe, just maybe, this life could be different. At first, you don't even believe it yourself. You've been conditioned to doubt, to fear, to think small, but something begins to shift. That whisper grows louder. It becomes a thought you can't shake, then a sentence you say out loud, then a decision, and suddenly, without realizing it, you've crossed a threshold that most people never reach. You're beginning to believe. Faith, as Napoleon Hill taught, is the cornerstone of wealth, not the kind tied to religion or blind hope, but a faith born from vision, a belief that your desires are not just wishes, they're instructions, that what you want isn't fantasy, it's possible. It's waiting for you on the other side of who you've yet to become. Hill said it clearly, faith is the only known antidote for failure. And when it begins to rise in you, you notice it in subtle but powerful ways. You start making moves without needing proof. You invest in yourself even when the results haven't shown up yet. You speak about your future not with hesitation, but with certainty, not because the world believes in you, but because you finally do. This kind of belief doesn't come from outside validation. In fact, the world may still doubt you. Your friends might question you. Your bank account might not reflect it yet. But deep down, you know. You just know. And that knowing becomes your fuel. You start saying things like, "I don't know how, but I know it's happening." That's not delusion. That's alignment. That's the wealth mindset beginning to take root. And once it does, everything changes. Your language changes. You stop speaking like a victim. You stop blaming the economy, your past, your upbringing. You take ownership not just of your present, but of your future. You begin every day with a sense of quiet confidence, even when nothing looks different on the outside. Why? Because something is different inside. Faith is growing, and when it grows, your world expands with it. You start visualizing your goals, not just once in a while, but constantly. You close your eyes and see the version of yourself who already made it. You speak to that version, you learn from them, you walk like them, and before long, you become them. Hill taught that repetition is the tool to cement belief. You affirm it daily: I am wealthy, I am capable, I am creating my future. And the more you say it, the more your subconscious mind begins to accept it. Then it starts working for you behind the scenes, connecting dots, drawing people and opportunities into your orbit. Faith is a magnetic force. It doesn't beg, it doesn't chase, it attracts. It doesn't ask if it will happen, it asks when. That shift from uncertainty to inevitability is where the real power lies. And when you feel that shift, you no longer operate like someone waiting to get lucky. You move like someone who knows they're already on their way. You start making investments of time, energy, and even money not as risks, but as statements of belief. You buy the book, you take the course, you wake up early, you build the brand, you take the leap. You don't need guarantees, and because belief is your guarantee. Faith gives you resilience. When others fold, you remain. When the plan fails, you revise, but you never retreat. You've stopped entertaining the idea of quitting, not because you're fearless, but because you believe that what you want is already yours. You're just catching up to it. It also begins to change your standards. You no longer tolerate mediocrity in your thoughts, your circle, your effort. You no longer try your best. You expect your best. You operate with integrity, not because someone's watching, but because you are building a life worthy of your belief. Faith allows you to detach from outcomes. You don't panic when something doesn't go your way. You trust that it's redirecting you, refining you, revealing the better path. You don't need to force anything. You allow, you adapt, because you understand you're already chosen for what you've envisioned. And maybe the most powerful part of all is this: your belief begins to impact others. People feel it in your energy. They hear it in your voice. They see it in your eyes. They don't know how to explain it, but they trust you. They want to be around you. Why? Because belief is contagious. It's electric. And when someone truly believes in themselves, it gives everyone else permission to do the same. If you're seeing this sign in your life right now, if belief is starting to take hold of you, don't downplay it. Don't apologize for it. Don't hide it to make others comfortable. This is the moment your internal world starts building your external reality. This is the shift from I hope to I know. This is the foundation upon which wealth is built, not just financial wealth, but the wealth of self-worth, confidence, clarity, and purpose. And if you've reached this point, if the fire inside you has turned into focused purpose, and that purpose has matured into unshakable belief, understand this. You're no longer becoming wealthy. You already are. Part 4, taking initiative. You act without waiting. There comes a moment, quiet but unmistakable, when your vision becomes too real to ignore. You can't sit still anymore. You can't keep planning, prepping, waiting for the timing to be right. You're done talking. You're done theorizing. Something inside of you demands motion, and that motion is initiative. Napoleon Hill was relentless about this. No wealth is ever created without action. Not passive action, not wishful action, but bold, committed, self-initiated action, the kind that doesn't need permission, the kind that says, I move first. Taking initiative is a sign you're leaving the realm of theory and entering the realm of results. It's when your belief finally steps into the physical world. It's no longer just a mindset, it's a movement. You start doing things before you feel ready. You apply for that opportunity. You launch that idea. You call that person. You begin. You don't wait for someone to hand you a chance, you create one. You don't wait to be noticed, you make yourself impossible to ignore. And this is the moment that separates dreamers from doers, because the world is full of people who say they want success, but very few ever step into the discomfort of action. It's not that they're incapable, it's that they're still waiting for motivation, for the perfect plan, for the stars to align. But here's the truth: initiative isn't born from ideal circumstances, it's born from inner conviction. You act because you can't not act anymore. You feel it in your bones that if you don't start now, you'll betray the version of yourself you've promised to become. You'd rather fail trying than sit still and watch your fire die. That urgency, that forward pressure is sacred. It's the language of momentum. And once you step into it, life begins to respond. Doors open not because they're easy, but because you knocked. Opportunities appear not because they're handed to you, but because you showed up. People begin to notice not because you're loud, but because you're moving. Initiative builds a force around you, a kind of gravity. The more you act, the more clarity you gain. The more you move, the more you learn. And suddenly, the path that looked so unclear when you were overthinking it starts to reveal itself, one step at a time. Hill said, "Success comes to those who become success conscious. And that consciousness demands more than thought. It demands motion, because you don't get confidence from waiting. You get confidence from doing. You no longer look for guarantees. You look for traction. You don't need to know every step ahead. You just need to know the next one. And then take it. When you're truly on the path to wealth, you stop asking for instructions. You stop waiting for someone to tell you what to do. You decide to become the kind of person who finds a way. And when one door closes, you knock on 5 more. When a plan fails, you rebuild it better. When you fall, you stand faster. Why? Because action has become your default. And here's what most people never understand: initiative isn't just what you do, it's who you are becoming. Every act of self-starting reshapes your identity. You go from being someone who watches life to someone who creates it. You start to feel a new kind of power, a quiet, steady authority that says, "I know how to move even when no one else is watching." Your initiative becomes a statement to the universe. I'm serious. And the universe begins to take you seriously too. People begin to trust you more, not because of your words, but because of your consistency. Your effort becomes your reputation. Your movement becomes your message. And those watching you silently begin to believe in themselves because you believed enough to begin. It's not always glamorous. In fact, taking initiative often looks boring. It's the early mornings when no one sees you, the emails you send that go unanswered, the late nights when doubt whispers and you keep building anyway. But it's in those moments, those quiet, lonely, unseen efforts that wealth is being born. You stop asking if it's working. You start asking, what more can I do today to move the needle? You build discipline not because someone told you to, but because you need to. Your future depends on it, and you know it. If you're seeing this sign, if you're beginning to take action without waiting, without asking, without needing perfect conditions, understand this. You've crossed into rare territory. You're no longer thinking like most people. You're moving like someone wealth is chasing, not because you're lucky, but because you've decided to go first. And the world follows those who dare to lead themselves. Part 5, persistence in adversity. You don't quit. Every dream worth building comes with resistance, not once, not twice, but relentlessly. The path to wealth isn't paved with comfort. It's forged through trial, through rejection, setback, and silence. And in those moments when it feels like nothing is working, when you've given everything and still see nothing in return, there's one thing that keeps you moving: persistence. Napoleon Hill didn't just mention persistence, he glorified it. He made it one of the irreplaceable laws of success because he understood something most people never do. The majority of people give up right before the miracle. The difference between those who win and those who don't isn't talent. It's not intelligence. It's not even opportunity. It's this: when things got hard, one person stopped, the other kept going. And when you're truly on the path to wealth, that quit button no longer exists. You've burned the bridges. You've removed the exits. You've told yourself, I don't care how long it takes. I don't care how many times I fall. I will not stop until I get what I came for. That kind of decision rewires you. At first, your persistence shows up in small ways. You make one more phone call after 10 rejections. You stay up one more hour when you're exhausted. You try one more strategy when everything else has failed. And then you do it again, and again, and again. Not because it's easy, but because quitting would hurt more than failing. You stop needing things to be fast. You stop needing things to be convenient. You're in it for the long game now. And while others chase hacks and shortcuts, you build brick by brick, day by day, knowing that everything great is built over time. The world doesn't reward the one who starts the fastest. It rewards the one who refuses to stop. And persistence isn't loud. It's not flashy. It doesn't get applause. It happens in silence, in the moments when no one believes in you, when the results aren't showing, and when doubt is screaming in your ear. But instead of folding, you whisper back, "I'm not done yet." That's when the game changes. Because wealth doesn't come to the most inspired, it comes to the most consistent. The ones who show up even when they don't feel like it. The ones who keep building when no one is watching. The ones who have every reason to quit, but one bigger reason to continue. They made a decision. Persistence is proof of that decision. It's your signal to the universe that you're serious, that you're not just interested, you're committed. And that level of commitment begins to attract everything you need. The mentors, the breakthroughs, the moments of momentum, they come but only after you've proven that you're not leaving when things get hard. Because here's what life is really asking you. How bad do you want it? And every time you persist, you answer with your actions, bad enough to stay in the fight. There will be moments when you cry behind closed doors, when you're tired of being misunderstood, when you question if any of it is worth it. But deep down, something in you says, I didn't come this far to only come this far. That voice, that spark, that raw refusal to quit, that is the birth of resilience. That is wealth being built in the dark. Hill wrote, "Persistence is to the character of man as carbon is to steel. It's what strengthens you, what gives you edge, what transforms you into the version of yourself that can handle the success you're building toward." And maybe the most powerful sign that you're on the path to wealth is this: you don't wait to feel motivated anymore. You keep showing up, even when the fire dims, because you trust the process. You trust the roots before the fruits. You understand that growth happens underground long before it shows above the surface. That's why persistence is sacred. It's not stubbornness. It's not desperation. It's spiritual. It's your soul saying, "This is who I am now. I don't stop. I rise." So if you've been knocked down but you're still breathing, if the world has told you no but you keep knocking, if your heart has been broken but your hands are still building, know this: you're not failing. You're forging. You're not behind. You're being tested. And the ones who keep going despite the pain, despite the silence, despite the odds, they don't just build wealth. They become unbreakable. Part 6, Mastermind Connections. You're attracting the right people. Something powerful starts to happen when you get serious about your growth. When you stop pretending, stop playing small, stop hiding behind fear, your frequency changes. You begin vibrating at a higher level, and just like a tuning fork sets off another in resonance, you begin attracting people who are on that same wave. Napoleon Hill called this the mastermind. Not just a network, not just friendships, but a sacred alliance, a union of minds aligned by purpose. He wrote that no individual may have great power without availing himself of the mastermind. And if you're starting to feel this pull, starting to meet people who see you, who get you, who fuel your ambition rather than drain it, it's no accident. It's a sign, a divine confirmation that you're stepping into alignment. You'll notice it in the smallest interactions. A stranger offers a piece of advice that shifts your whole perspective. A comment online leads to a collaboration. A long-lost friend reemerges. But this time, they're on the same mission as you. These moments feel different. They're not surface level. They're soulful. They feel like fate. And you start realizing wealth isn't built in isolation. Growth isn't sustained in silence. No matter how driven you are, you need people, the right people, to hold the mirror, sharpen your vision, challenge your blind spots, and expand your belief. Hill wasn't just talking about having friends. He was talking about having partners in destiny, people who refuse to let you shrink, who remind you who you are when you forget, who make you feel like your dreams aren't crazy, they're necessary. People who don't just clap for your wins, but pour into your purpose when the world goes quiet. And here's the paradox: the more committed you become to your growth, the fewer people can walk with you. You start to feel the loneliness of leveling up. You lose those who love the version of you that stayed stuck. But in that void, something beautiful happens. You create space for alignment. Your standards shift. You're no longer impressed by popularity. You're magnetized by depth. You want substance, vision, energy. You want to talk about ideas, impact, legacy, not gossip, distraction, or limitation. You crave connections that feed your future, not your ego. And when you find them, everything changes. The conversations hit different. You leave meetings not just informed, but transformed. You start thinking bigger, acting bolder, believing deeper, because now it's not just your voice in the wilderness, it's a chorus of conviction, a collective mind with one goal: to rise. This is what Hill meant when he said the mastermind creates an invisible force. It's not just about intellect, it's about energy. When two or more minds come together, aligned by faith, purpose, and persistence, a third mind is born greater than the sum of its parts. Ideas start flowing that you could never access alone. Solutions appear that logic can't explain. The room shifts, and so do you. If you're starting to experience this, if the right people are being drawn to you, or if you're feeling pulled to leave behind circles that no longer match your destiny, that's a sacred sign. You're evolving, and your relationships must evolve with you. You begin to value intentional community. You start seeking rooms that stretch you. You know the difference between someone who entertains you and someone who elevates you, and you make the hard decisions. You walk away from comfort. You choose alignment over attachment. Because here's the truth: your environment will either multiply your greatness or suffocate it. And the wealth you're building, it needs more than capital. It needs counsel, encouragement, accountability, shared energy, and yes, love. The kind of love that sees your highest self and demands it daily. The kind of love that says, you were made for more, and I won't let you forget it. So if you're finding yourself surrounded by voices that lift you, stretch you, build you, protect those connections, nurture them, prioritize them, and if you're still searching for that tribe, don't worry. Keep becoming the person your future circle is already praying to meet. Because the mastermind is not a strategy, it's a spirit. It's a divine appointment. And once you're in alignment with your calling, life will do whatever it takes to bring your people to your path. You'll recognize them not by their title, but by their energy. Not by what they have, but by what they activate in you. And when that happens, when the right minds meet at the right moment for the right mission, that's not just a sign that you're on the path to wealth. That is wealth. Part 7, emotional control. You master your reactions. There's a power that doesn't shout. It doesn't chase. It doesn't react to every slight, every delay, every distraction. It moves in silence. It chooses stillness when chaos erupts. That power is emotional control, and if you're starting to master it, you're far closer to wealth than you realize. Napoleon Hill didn't build his philosophy on emotionless success. He built it on governed emotion, the kind that fuels vision instead of sabotaging it. Because if desire is the engine and belief is the fuel, then emotional control is the steering wheel. Without it, you'll burn out, spin in circles, or crash before you even leave the driveway. You'll know you're on the path to wealth when you stop letting your emotions drive your decisions. When the delay doesn't defeat you, when the criticism doesn't crush you, when the fear doesn't freeze you, you begin to feel the urge to react, and then you don't. You pause, you breathe, you choose. Because you've finally understood your reaction is your responsibility, you begin to recognize that not every problem requires your panic. Not every trigger deserves your energy. Not every emotion needs to become an action. And that awareness, that restraint, It is elite discipline. It's a level of strength the majority will never touch. Because most people are addicted to reactivity. They feed off drama. They drown in doubt. They erupt with insecurity the moment life doesn't go their way. But when you are truly stepping into wealth, you learn to contain the storm. You don't deny your emotions, you honor them, but you don't obey them blindly anymore. You feel the fear and move anyway. You feel the anger and speak calmly. You feel the sadness and still show up. And this doesn't make you weak. It makes you dangerous in the best possible way. Because now you're unshakable. Your power doesn't come from controlling the world. It comes from controlling yourself. From knowing that the external doesn't have to dictate the internal. That peace can be present even in pressure. That strength can be quiet. That grace can be sharper than rage. Hill knew that uncontrolled emotion was one of the most destructive forces to success. Fear, jealousy, resentment, indecision, he named them all as internal enemies. And if you're conquering them, not all at once, but one day at a time, then make no mistake you're becoming the person wealth wants to flow to. You begin to see obstacles not as enemies, but as information. You begin to treat failure not as proof of inadequacy, but as feedback for refinement. You stop being easily offended. You stop needing validation. You stop chasing applause and start cultivating peace. Because peace is profitable. When your mind is clear, your choices improve. When your heart is steady, your work becomes deeper. When your emotions no longer rule you, your vision becomes precise. You stop wasting time fighting battles that don't move you forward. You stop losing energy to things that don't deserve your fire. You reserve your focus. You protect your frequency. And people feel that. They don't just respect you, they trust you. Because consistency in your emotions builds confidence in your leadership. Think about it. Who do people follow in a storm? The loudest? The angriest? No. They follow the one who stays composed. The one who leads, not leaks. That's who you are becoming. And here's the most beautiful part. Emotional control doesn't make you robotic. It makes you real. It frees you to feel fully without being enslaved by those feelings. You can still cry, still get angry, still feel fear, but now you respond with wisdom, not reaction. You learn how to hold the emotion without letting it hold you. If you're seeing this shift in yourself, if you no longer spiral over setbacks, if you're learning to observe before reacting, if you're choosing discipline over drama, then understand that's not small growth. That's legacy-level leadership. Because anyone can get lucky. Anyone can win once, but only those who master themselves can rise and stay there. So hold your ground, guard your energy, protect your peace like it's the most valuable currency you have, because it is. And when life tries to shake you, when the world throws its noise at your doorstep, stand still, breathe deep, smile if you have to. Then do what you came here to do anyway. That's how you know you're no longer reacting like the rest of the world. You're rising above it. You're moving like someone who already knows. Wealth follows emotional mastery. Part 8, you're obsessed with self-education. At some point in your journey, the hunger for knowledge becomes insatiable. You no longer learn because someone told you to. You learn because you have to. Because the life you're building demands a new level of you. You start waking up with questions and going to bed with books. You stop binging entertainment and start devouring information. This shift, this obsession with self-education isn't just admirable, it's prophetic. It means you're becoming. Napoleon Hill said that the truly successful never stop learning, not because they have to, but because they're driven to. Because they understand that the world they're trying to create requires more than just ambition, it requires evolution. And so you evolve. You start watching content that stretches your thinking. You study people who've done what you dream of. You don't wait for someone to teach you, you go find the truth. You chase books like their oxygen, podcasts like their sermons, mentors like their maps. You're no longer seeking information, you're seeking transformation. And the beautiful part? It's not forced, It's felt. Something in you has awakened. You can't go back to small talk, empty talk, or recycled opinions. You want truth, strategy, wisdom. You want to understand how the world works, how the mind works, how you work. You want to learn how to master time, energy, communication, money, relationships. Discipline, because you know success doesn't respond to luck. It responds to skill. You're no longer intimidated by what you don't know. In fact, it excites you because you've learned one of the rarest truths: ignorance is not a fixed state. It's a temporary one. And the moment you realize you can outgrow your ignorance, you become unstoppable. Self-education is freedom. It breaks the walls that the system tried to keep you in. Maybe you weren't top of your class. Maybe you didn't come from privilege. Maybe you failed out of school. None of that matters, because now you're educating yourself, and no one can take that from you. You realize that wealth isn't just in what you earn, it's in what you understand. You study wealth creation not for curiosity, but for application. You learn how to manage money, how to multiply it, how to leverage it, not for greed, but for freedom. Because the more you know, the more you can do. The more you grow, the more you can give. And you want to give something to this world that lasts. You also start learning from failure, not running from it. Every loss becomes a lecture. Every pain becomes a professor. You extract wisdom from every season, every person, every mistake. You walk through life with a journal in your mind, collecting insight, making meaning out of hardship. You no longer fear falling, you fear not learning. This kind of obsession with growth doesn't make you better than anyone, but it makes you different. You start choosing long-term over shortcuts, depth over distraction, mastery over mediocrity. You're not looking to appear smart, you're working to become wise. That shift, that's sacred. People start to notice. They feel your shift. You start speaking differently, carrying yourself differently. You don't need to impress anyone. Your presence becomes proof of your progress. Your clarity becomes a mirror. And the people around you, they either rise with you or they drift away. You start teaching without trying. Your discipline becomes contagious. Your mindset becomes magnetic. And the beautiful irony is this: the more you learn, the more humble you become. Because the more you know, the more you realize how much there is to know. You're no longer chasing perfection, you're chasing growth. Always growth. If you're seeing this sign, if you're constantly seeking knowledge, feeding your mind, leveling up your thinking, understand this: you're not behind, you're preparing. You're upgrading the operating system that will carry your vision into reality, and the universe sees that. It rewards those who respect their own development. So keep reading, keep questioning, keep taking notes when no one's watching. Keep refining your skills while the world sleeps, because one day soon, they'll ask how you did it, and the answer will be simple. You educated yourself when no one was clapping. And now, it's 6 You've become the kind of person no one can ignore. Part 9, you see setbacks as lessons. There comes a time in your journey when failure stops feeling like death, when rejection stops breaking you, when silence doesn't make you shrink. That's not numbness, it's evolution. It's wisdom. It's the moment you stop taking pain personally and start taking it productively. And that moment changes everything. Because now, when the deal falls through, when the numbers dip, when your effort meets nothing but silence, you don't spiral, you don't scream, you don't stop, you lean in, you ask questions, you take notes, you say quietly to yourself, what is this here to teach me? Napoleon Hill believed that failure is never failure unless it is final. And if you're still breathing, still building, still believing, then you haven't failed. You've just been enrolled in life's highest classroom. You start to understand something the masses never will. Setbacks are signals. They are not proof that you're unworthy. They're feedback, redirection, refinement, divine course corrections. And the more you embrace that, the more dangerous you become, not to others, but to your own limitations. Because now you're not just chasing wins, you're learning how to lose well. You fall forward, you fail forward, and every bruise becomes a badge of honor, not shame. You stop seeing yourself as someone who makes mistakes and start seeing yourself as someone who extracts meaning. That's power. That's leadership. That's resilience with roots. Others will panic in loss. You will pause. Others will retreat. You will reflect. And from that reflection, you will rise sharper, smarter, stronger. You no longer say, "Why is this happening to me?" You ask, "What is this unlocking in me?" Because setbacks don't happen to you, they happen for you. They reveal what you've ignored. They burn away what no longer serves you. They test the strength of your commitment. And if you pass the test, if you hold the line, keep showing up, keep growing through it, then what was meant to destroy you becomes the very thing that defines you. You begin to thank the very things that once broke you. The heartbreak, the lost job, the failed launch, the rejection letter, because without those breakdowns, you would have never built this level of strength, of focus, of fire. This mindset doesn't come overnight. It's forged. Forged in the moments where no one claps, where everything goes wrong, where you cry behind closed doors and show up anyway. It's forged in humility and admitting where you were wrong, where you moved too fast, where you held on too long. But from that humility grows wisdom. And from wisdom grows wealth. Not just financial wealth, but emotional wealth, mental wealth, soul wealth. You begin to take losses with grace, not because they don't hurt, but because they no longer define you. You know your identity isn't built on outcomes, it's built on endurance. You start building immunity to discouragement. You stop needing constant validation. You no longer measure progress in applause, but in awareness in who you're becoming when no one's watching. You become a student of life not just when it's easy, but when it's crushing. And that is how you become unstoppable. So if you're in a season of setbacks, if everything feels slow or hard or quiet, don't curse it. Honor it. Take notes, study the patterns, extract the wisdom, because the lesson you master today is the leverage you'll use tomorrow. And when the world finally sees you win, they won't know that the foundation of your success was not built on luck or applause. It was built on the ashes of your losses. You didn't just survive the fall. You learned from it. And now, you rise higher than ever before. Part 10. Your habits are aligned with success. It doesn't happen in a flash of glory, not in the applause, not in the big wins. True success begins quietly, in the moments no one sees, in the habits you repeat every single day. You begin to know you're on the path to wealth when your life is no longer ruled by mood, but by rhythm, when discipline becomes your default, when your habits start reflecting the person you said you wanted to become. Napoleon Hill wrote, "You are the master of your destiny. You can influence, direct, and control your own environment. You can make your life what you want it to be, but how? Not by chance and not by charm, by choice, and choice repeated becomes habit. You wake up and no longer negotiate with your potential. You rise early, not because it's easy, but because your future is worth more than your comfort. You move your body, feed your mind, guard your peace not once in a while, but daily. You stop chasing motivation and start depending on systems, because you finally understand your results are not built on emotion, they're built on execution. You start making small promises to yourself and keeping them. That's the quiet revolution. That's how you rebuild your self-respect. One morning at a time, one decision at a time, one no to distraction, one yes to alignment, and slowly, the fog clears, the path sharpens, your identity upgrades. You no longer let your feelings dictate your direction. You let your standards lead, and those standards, they show up in what you do consistently, not what you do occasionally. The books you read, the food you eat, the people you talk to, the way you spend your first hour, the way you spend your last. It all matters now because you matter now. You track your progress, not for perfection, but for pattern. You study yourself. You hold yourself accountable, not to be hard on yourself, but because you love the version of you you're building too much to let them down. You stop calling bad habits personality traits. You stop protecting patterns that poison your potential. You clean up your space, your language, your mindset, not out of guilt, but out of ownership. You're no longer living reactively, you're living intentionally. And what happens next? Your confidence grows not because of some sudden success, but because you now trust yourself. Your days have structure, your mind has clarity, your actions have alignment, and that alignment, that's the true fuel of progress. You stop overcomplicating success. You realize it's not magic, it's mechanics. You want to feel better? Move your body daily. You want to think clearer? Read and write every day. You want to build wealth? Track your money, respect your time, protect your energy, and most of all, do it again tomorrow. And the day after that, because that's what habits are. They're not what you do when you're inspired, they're what you do when you're committed. They're not impressive, they're invisible, but they build empires one small, ordinary, unglamorous repetition at a time. You know you're leveling up when your new habits feel boring, but you do them anyway, because you're no longer addicted to stimulation, you're addicted to transformation. Others will ask how you change. You'll tell them it wasn't a moment, it was a method. And the truth is, most people never reach their potential, not because they lack dreams, but because they lack discipline. They keep looking for motivation. But you built momentum, and momentum doesn't come from massive action. It comes from daily consistency. So if your days are starting to feel different, if you're structuring your time, protecting your mornings, saying no more easily, honoring your health, feeding your mind, refusing to waste another year, know this? That's not coincidence. That's confirmation. You're no longer wishing for wealth. You're living like someone who's already aligned with it. And eventually, the world will catch up to what your habits already decided. Part 11, you feel a shift in identity. I am wealth. There's a moment, subtle but irreversible, when you no longer see wealth as something outside of you. You no longer chase it like a ghost. You no longer feel like a beggar at the gates of fortune. Instead, you look in the mirror and see it, feel it, own it. Not the money yet, but the identity, because wealth isn't just what you have. Wealth is who you are becoming. And that shift changes everything. Napoleon Hill taught that the most powerful force in the universe is the power of the subconscious mind. And what shapes that subconscious? Identity. Not what you say you want, but what you believe you are. He said, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But belief is not passive, it's not an idea, it's an embodiment. And you'll know you're on the path to wealth the moment your self-concept begins to transform. When you stop saying, I hope to be rich one day, and start living like, I am the kind of person who attracts wealth. I am the kind of person who creates it. I am wealth in motion. It doesn't mean you're arrogant, it means you've activated. You walk differently, not because of ego, but because of alignment. You carry yourself like someone with value because now you see your value. You speak with purpose. You move with clarity. You no longer shrink to make others comfortable. You no longer doubt your right to succeed. That old version of you, the one who second-guessed, who apologized for wanting more, who hesitated before acting, they're still there, but they're fading. You've outgrown them, not out of pride, but out of growth. You're becoming someone new, not because you're pretending, but because you're returning to who you were always meant to be. This shift in identity doesn't mean you have all the answers. It doesn't mean life is suddenly easy. It means that, even in uncertainty, you now see yourself as the kind of person who figures it out, who shows up, who doesn't quit, Who builds because that's what creators do? You start to reverse the equation the world gave you. You were told get rich, then you'll be confident. Now you understand become confident and wealth will follow. You were told prove yourself, then you'll be worthy. Now you know you are always worthy and that's why you'll succeed. The shift is internal, and once it happens, nothing external can shake you. You stop waiting for success to give you permission to act successful. You give it to yourself, now, in this season, in the grind, in the learning, in the becoming. And the universe, it responds to that energy, to that conviction, to that quiet declaration, this is who I am now. You find yourself dressing differently not to impress, but to reflect your future self. Speaking differently not to sound smart, but to align with your new level. Setting boundaries not out of fear, but out of self-respect. It's not about proving anything anymore. It's about protecting the identity you fought to grow into. People around you may not understand it. They might say you've changed. And they're right. Because now, you're no longer thinking like the broke version of you. You're no longer acting like someone waiting for permission. You're no longer begging life to be fair. You've stepped into your power. You've stepped into wealth, not just the destination, but the identity. You've gone from I want to, I am. And that is the most powerful sign of all. Because once your identity shifts, everything else must follow. If these signs resonate with you, it's not an accident. You're stepping into a new version of yourself, one that's built for wealth. Don't ignore it. Don't wait. Start aligning. Start acting. And remember, wealth isn't something you chase, it's something you become. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next level.